going to dive into super simple formulas. I need to stress here, if you're taking, I maybe should have said this at the beginning, if you're taking this class because you're already pretty well equipped and can handle Excel and spreadsheets to your heart's content, I probably should have stated up front, I used to be an English teacher. So diving into spreadsheets is not something that I'm like super comfortable with. And I only really know, very, very, very basics. My dad is a financial analyst, and sometimes I even have to call him and say, now, how do I do the thing again? How do I do? And he just laughs because to him it's so simple, and to me it's a much more difficult or a challenge. So keep that in mind. I've titled this section Simple Formulas because odds are that if you're doing a more complex formula, you already know how to do it and you're not taking this class. So I'm not going to do another video on more complex formulas. Maybe that needs to come in a Google Sheets 201 course or something. Today we're focusing on super, super basics. So that in mind, what are the basics here? You need to just remember back in the day, your standards of operation. That's important when you're typing or creating any kinds of formulas here. So if you were, trying to, let's see, how was I was managing a budget spreadsheet recently where I had to create a formula that was taking into account the cost of a substitute based on whether we were asking for a half-day sub versus a full-day sub. And so I was taking like the cost times the number represented in the cell minus the total amount for what was allocated for that school to get my final outcome. So the standards of operations there needed to, I needed to understand that concept in order for the formula to work. So just keep that in mind. And then we're going to kind of dive into this practice one, and you see that you have multiple sheets here. So I'm going to do a couple here on this main page, and then I'm going to ask you to go into the second sheet, the challenge sheet, to finish out and to do your own. So hopefully you're seeing here that I added some different formatting options. Again, your spreadsheets don't have to be boring and ugly. We've got some merge cells. We've actually got a graphic here. We've changed some of the color schemes happening. And then we've got some actual some formulas already in place that we're going to kind of continue to use here. So let's pretend I'm math department lead. I need to calculate different things that we're ordering and just keep track of what I'm doing. I was trying to make this relevant to us as teachers. Like, when are we going to use spreadsheets in this capacity? This is one of those options, I think. Okay, so basic formula. You can, and I want to start super basic here because you do have the formulas already created up above, so that kind of will help you here. So when I highlight the formula, you'll see up here, it shows you what the formula is. So you've got your equal sign, your cell address of B4. The operator is, I want to times, multiply what's in B4 times what's in C4 to equal my total. So as long as that is what's happening, you've got, so B4 is a 15 times 875 equals 131.25. So down here, I'm going to type it out and then show you that there's another way that you can do it. So to start with, we're going to just type out equal sign. That automatically signifies the cell that we're creating a formula. We can literally type out the cell address. So we want to say that it is B6. And we see it knows it highlighted the cell for us. So B6, and we want to say multiplied by C6. And we're just going to hit return. And it automatically calculates it for us, which is super awesome. Okay, the other thing that you can do is type your equal sign and then use your mouse to highlight the cell. So instead of typing the cell address, you can just identify it. We're going to say multiply and then use our mouse again and select the next cell, and then we can say return. Now, just to show you another tip or trick, I'm going to delete what I just did, and I can use the fill option on formulas. So when I select the crosshairs again, I'm just going to call it things that I call it in my brain, but I'm just going to drag and drop down below. And when I highlight that particular cell, you'll notice that it automatically changed the formula to match B6 to C6. It doesn't say B5 and C5, it actually changed the cell and we get the same exact amount. So if you did title the formula or put the formula in one, you can just drag it down the entire line and fill the entire line up so that it works for you. So I think that's where I want to kind of stop and just have you kind of practice. You'll notice that the total here was the operator, instead of a multiplication, is a plus sign here. So it's just adding in your total for the June and July budget. So let's go ahead and do that one here as well. So we're going to start with our equal sign. I'm going to go ahead and say this one, and we're going to add the plus this one, and plus, and this one, and plus, and this one. And that should give you your total. And then you could, in fact, also, let's say that this is my total, this is my running total, but let's go ahead and say down here, let's say running total. So then what we're going to do is we're going to say equal sign, and we're going to select, well, order of operations. We want to do this guy first minus this guy. Enter. So then you can just keep track and just leave it there. And as you're continuing to enter things, it'll just live update. I didn't explain what I was doing, but hopefully you saw everything that I was doing. Okay, so go ahead and click on the challenge button, and I want you to go ahead and practice again. So add in your simple formulas for each section here, and then also practice adding in that total like I just did.